Hi everybody, good evening. My name is Alan, and on behalf of the crew of the show, I'd like to welcome you to another edition of Bridging Heaven and Earth. You know, just so often in our lives, we think there's division, we think there's separation, we think there's an opposition to us, but there really is an experience of oneness, of togetherness, that we can transcend whatever we think the divisions are, the barriers are between us experiencing the love and the connectedness of all living things and the earth and the trees and the dolphins and each of the peoples of this earth, no matter what color or religion or experience we think they have or we have, that creates a separation or a difference. And really, I can really feel that the time is now to bring that experience into truth, into reality. And tonight we have people with us to share with you their love and their gift of that experience of oneness. They travel the world to bring that to people, to bring their love and their understanding to people in different ways, but it's ultimately the same way because it's a vibration of love. It's a vibration of inspiration. We have back with us again, we got tremendous numbers of calls about both the people tonight, about Lama Ole Nydahl and Sarah West. And Lama Ole is a Buddhist teacher. He's an author of this extraordinary new book, The Way Things Are. He's traveled the world. He's founded probably more than 150, 180, 200 Diamond Way Buddhist teaching centers all over the world. And that the intention of these centers, the intention of his life and his work, is to bring an experience to people where we can know truth, where we can know love, where we can know the real brotherhood and sisterhood of the human species and all the other life forms on this extraordinary planet. And we have with us again also Sarah West, who again travels the world and goes to all the sacred sites and does workshops and teachings and tonings and just brings her love in her way vibrationally through her voice, this extraordinary instrument she's been given, to once again allow people to, for that period of time at least, to experience that love, and then hopefully bring it back into their lives, bring it back into a reality for them on a consistent basis. So we're just tremendously honored again to have these people. Ole flew in, I think, from overseas and flew up to San Francisco and drove his motorcycle down to Santa Barbara where we shoot. Sarah came up, she used to live in Santa Barbara, as some of you know, and she came up from San Diego. And we're just so honored to have them with us in the studio tonight to do a live show. And it's just really an extraordinary experience for us all, and we hope you have it too. So as we normally do at this time, to set a tone for the show, to set a vibration, to just quiet whatever we've done all day, whatever insanity or craziness or drama we think we have in our lives, to just settle in, and for the next 58 minutes to just allow that vibration of love, of oneness, of connectedness to overcome us all and maybe bring us all one step closer into that experience. So please join me in a short meditation. Thank you. So we're going to start tonight's show with Sarah doing the Sound of Peace Part 1. She's written and is going to be performing it. And just relax into the magnificence of her vocal instrument. It's really an unbelievable experience. So whenever Sarah's ready. Wow, thank you, Sarah. That was magnificent. So we're on the set with Lama Ole. Well, it's good to have you back, Ole.
Yes,
Wonderful.
you also. You're in good shape.
Yeah.
Fine man. Yeah.
So for some of the, we've added a lot more cities since you've been here the last time. So for some of the 6 million people who haven't seen the last show, why don't you just describe a little bit about how you would define Buddhism and how you would see its practice manifesting now?
Well, what's special about Buddhism today is that it's not a religion of faith or belief, it's a religion of experience. The goal is not to please a god, the goal is to fully develop our human potential. And the goal is also not to follow some kind of dogmas, but to, well, bring forth all the power and qualities we have inherently. So Buddha taught 3 kinds of people. Some people wanted to get rid of their own problems. He taught them about cause and effect, about finding a distance to what was going on. And very often these people became monks and nuns, because you are protected like that. Then he taught for the lay people how to keep compassion and wisdom in a healthy balance, so one doesn't go overboard in compassion and become sentimental, and one doesn't go overboard in wisdom and become bureaucratic, right? Where one has a round inner life. But the most important teaching he gave was that everybody's mind is clear light, that which is aware right now, looking through our eyes and listening through our ears, is like space, that this space is radiantly clear and conscious, and that it has no ending or stop. And this realization makes people fearless, joyful, and actively compassionate. And it's also this teaching that's most interesting today. It's the Diamond Way teaching that is rolling the West today, rocking the West, shaking the West, bringing lots of centers and lots of development.
Why do you think that the Western mind, which has been materialistic and involved with things like that, is more ready for it? It has the short spiritual leg for so long, and the long...
I'll tell you one thing. We are the idealists. The Easterners are the materialists. The people in the East know the price of everything. We know the value of a few things. I mean, we are babies in the wood, we Westerners. We are dreamers, we have our hearts in front of our shirts, we are vulnerable, we are the highly intelligent but soft babies to be protected, and in the East one knows exactly how things happen. We've just made a book here. A friend of mine, or my student, travels with me actually, Tomic Leonard. He's just made this book here called Rogues in Robes, which is about the Chinese attempts, communist Chinese attempts, to control the freedom of the Tibetan Buddhists. It's in this is in Blue Dolphin Publishing, and this is sort of a real story of what has been happening the last 5 years.
The last 5 years? Does it go back to when they took over, when the Dalai Lama left?
Yes, it goes back to before that, but this was even back to the tricks the Tibetans played with each other, right? I mean, they're also human. A Buddhist doesn't mean a Buddha, right? Right. So one still makes a few mistakes and so on. So this is one of the things we have, and well, it's just a time where the West, which is very idealistic, is also insisting that what we get is completely clear and pure and useful and without old politics and vested interests and so on. And this is happening now, and that's a very interesting development.
How do you feel about the recent allegations, at least, that the Dalai Lama is trying to, make some sort of compromise or do something with the Chinese people?
Well,
and go back to Tibet at some point?
Communist Chinese, well, it's probably a survival thing. They have put 7.5 million Chinese into Tibet, which has less than 6 million people. So they are a minority in their own country, and it may be a survival thing. On the other hand, Dalai Lama is not in a very lucky situation. He has his Kashak, his own government, that doesn't always do what he says, and he's under pressure from all sides and so on. But the recent attacks from the Red Chinese could actually be a sign that they are trying to get into a comfortable position for doing some kind of deal with him later, and I would like that. I mean, there's so many Tibetans who really like His Holiness, who are really impressed by him, and and touched by him, and they should have a chance to see him, I think.
So it would be really a beautiful thing for him to be able to go back there.
It'd be good if we could go back.
Because people really are feeling that.
Yes, if we could go back without being controlled, with enough scrutiny from the West, enough check that he doesn't eat something, that he suddenly dies or something like
Comes
that.
down with
something
a plane crash.
something like that. Like something like that. It would be good. It would actually gladden me because so many people wish that. On the other hand, I mean, we have seen several incarnates being manipulated by the Chinese these days, and it is quite probable that the Dalai Lama, who is a very kind person, and I know him personally.
Right,
I know him really. He calls me his old friend. We were together 3 weeks ago in Graz in southern Austria, and I mean that they would just wear him down. He's kind, and if they just come in with their whole Politburo and start grinding him out,
Right.
it probably would not be very nice for him. So let's see what happens, but it's a hard situation.
Yeah, it's a hard situation.
It is a very hard situation.
Right. Yeah. So, but you find that as you travel the world, that there's just a tremendous growth in the numbers of people who want to, in one way or another, experience that clarity of mind, that experience of love. That
Yes, and it's moving also here. I mean, America is an incredibly Christian country, much more Christian than anything we have in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
and Puritan, the whole thing with the president, the puritanical back. Yeah, it's pathetic, isn't it? I mean, Christ. I mean, I was saying, how much money and how much time are we going to spend on this stupidity?
The whole world shook its head, right?
I mean, for what they spend in one day on one of those idiotic hearings, we could put this show on in every country and every, 24 hours a day. It's,
a young lady wants to be kind to the president, and such a scandal comes out of it.
And that's just the whole puritanical route. And
I know. No, it is very Christian here, but people are beginning. There are quite a few people who want answers they can experience and don't have to believe, right? And that is very good. But over in Europe, I mean, we're big. I don't think I have any evening that I teach with less than 500 people.
Really?
And we are way over. And Russia is ahead with 73 centers at present, I think.
There are 73 centers in
all
Russia?
the way across. I spent 2 months there every
I said
year.
180. I mean, so if you have 73 in Russia,
we have
Russia like loaded in Russia.
About 215 around the world. There's Tomek here who wrote this book. He also keeps check of our centers and so on.
Right.
And
your life is basically just to go from one center to another center to another center, and then ride your motorcycle every now and then. You got it.
Whenever I can. Yes, I mean yes, I'm Danish, right? But I'm 2 weeks in Denmark every year, not more than that. Mm-hmm. And I like Denmark, but I don't have time to be there more.
Right.
So it's a busy thing. Most of it, Central Europe is very powerful.
So what would you say, you described the 3 central teachings, but how would you say that, if somebody came to you and said, how would one approach trying to learn to be a Buddhist or Buddhism?
I would try to actually advise them to think of their mind as a house. I would say, well, you need a foundation, right? Otherwise, the house falls down. You need walls, otherwise it doesn't contain anything. And you need a roof, otherwise everything is unprotected, right? So think of your mind like that. On the level of the foundation, watch out about cause and effect. Do think and say things that are useful and avoid things that are harmful, right? Just generally. And about the walls, I'd say think of all beings, because no matter how smart the things you do are, if you just do them for yourself, they stay small. And try to understand that the world is a bit like a dream, right? Like a big collective dream with a lot of individual dreams inside it. Mm-hmm. That sort of balances compassion and wisdom. But the really important thing in Buddhism is actually that we don't need to die to go to what's called the Pure Land, and we don't need to go somewhere else to meet Buddhas. We just need to polish our eyes, and there sits Alan, a perfect Buddha, right? With all the qualities.
I've said that quite often myself.
Yes. And around, you know, is everything, every atom vibrates with joy, is kept together by love, and every thought is fantastic just because it can happen and so on. This is sort of the essential thing.
But that has to be an experience or a knowing.
Well, you start with what you have,
You start
and
with
then
the-
you try to get more.
And
right?
so, okay, say you have the thought, like, okay,
Yeah.
I can relate to that, I can believe in that.
Yeah.
What would be the next step? How would you
Well-
walk somebody to the next
if
step?
you start with the thought, I would make a foundation for the thought with different kinds of philosophical statements and examinations, and then I'd get into meditation. And then I would try to act into the world what I'd understood through my meditation. And if you start like our generation, right, with the experience, whether through chemicals or whatever, right?
My parents watch this show, so I'm not going to admit it.
No,
so-
no, good.
No
Say
way.
words. No, not me also. I don't know what's...
No, I don't know what he's
Say
talking
what
about.
my
But yeah.
Well, anyway, like some from our generation, some
My
people
father
we
just had
know,
an
right?
operation, so if he hears this, it's not going to be good.
Okay.
But I hear tell people have
Yeah,
done
I
that.
also heard about this. Yes. So anyway, you know, if that's the basis, well, then you have to get clarity into the experience. You have to make it beyond personal. You have to stop being attached to the experience, but to go for the larger picture that for 2,500 years people have had similar experiences and gradually grown. And again, you're in the middle. You have a total thing. So you need a view, you need a meditation, and you need an action.
And meditation is just a tool to quiet the mind, and if the mind is quiet in a sense, or what exists behind the quiet mind is the clarity.
You can say a meditation, the first goal of meditation is to create distance. So you can see if a comedy or a tragedy is on its way. And if it's a tragedy, stay out. And if it's a comedy, take all the roles, right?
Right.
Then on the second level, it's a question
But
of
if
motivation.
you go to one or the other, I mean, can you choose one side of the coin or another?
Oh
Or
yes, oh yes. On that point, you can. You see, two
there's a
people are coming
clarity.
together to
Right.
do something intelligent, and two people are coming together to do something useless. Stay away from the useless people. Join the intelligent ones.
We
Just
might,
basically.
we might have to leave the set. No,
Okay, I'm sorry. Well, yes, it is. But anyway, so that would be this. Second level of motivation or meditation is actually motivating the mind, starting with the wish to become enlightened for the good of all beings and finish by sharing the good feelings. And the last thing is behave like Buddha until you become Buddha. And that's the most important one. It's really central one. Behave like Buddha until you become him.
And how would one know how to behave like Buddha if one has an experience what Buddha experienced?
Well, be as spontaneous and effortless as you can, have as much compassion as you can, and try to avoid harming others. That's a good start.
But wouldn't you have to know the experience of not harming and not injuring before that would be a reality? You know, rather it would be a concept. You know, and you'd be walking around with concepts of what injuring someone would be instead of having the experience of love and manifesting that.
Yes.
But you're working them all together, and that's what
Yeah.
meditation is like, to rub you up against the experience of that.
Yes, that's what it is. And also, you know, I mean, we all have so much background. You know, we have a whole life. There's so many things we've done and been done to us, and lots of wisdom, former lives also. I think if you tell people to behave, treat others like they want to be treated themselves, they probably have a good idea of what they would like to
More
happen
people
to
would
themselves.
like to be treated nicely.
Yeah, sure they would.
Right.
Sure they would.
So in essence, I mean, all the different, and we've, you know, this is actually the 70th show, and we've had a lot of people come on with a lot of different ways of looking at it. But ultimately, it's a very simple thing.
Yes,
The
it
experience
is.
of love is very
Yeah,
simple,
sure,
because that's
sure.
what everything is in a way.
Subject, object, and action, not separate, right? Yeah. Then you have it.
And so you're finding that people are just really
Opening up to that.
opening to that.
They are
and want
opening
it
up.
and hungry. And
Yes, massively, massively. I mean, the only places I would not teach, for instance, is Muslim states, right? Because there I would not be able to protect my students. But everywhere else, you know, where no mullahs would come and kill them, and where there is a basis, you know, I actually see that people can learn and understand. Muslim states, I wouldn't do that. We have a little group in Ankara in Turkey. I tell them to keep secret, not say a word to anybody.
Because in those countries,
they can be killed. I mean, people are being killed for being
opposition
Christian,
is
for
not
being
dealt
killed
with in a very kind and compassionate
I mean, if
way.
you're not Muslim, you get killed.
Very open way of looking at it. Very beautiful.
Very practical.
Very practical. It keeps the core
thing
going.
well ordered.
Right. All right, so I guess maybe we'll just take a little time out now and do the second set with Sarah. Sarah West is going to do The Sound of Peace Part 2, which is probably going to be similar to The Sound of Peace Part 1. And she's also going to do the Spoken Prayer. That's going to be her second number in this set. And both the Sound of Peace and the Spoken Prayer were written and are going to be performed by Sarah West. So whenever you're ready, Sarah.
I offer my love and celebration and all that we are. I offer my commitment to one. I stand before you, humble and unleashed with joy and light and beauty, oneness, resurrection of spirit through the body, through the mind, through the heart, from the soul, purity, innocence, power, truth. All that is, I surrender, being, knowing that I am, holding truth, letting go of fear, coming together with you. Oh, Holy One, being one, are we in love, in peace, in joy? I commit to life, to living, to eternity in now. I am whole. I am whole. 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 Glory. 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 Glory be in me, above and below, behind and before. Glory be emanating, emanating from within, reflecting the glory in you, reflecting love, being love, you for all. I dance, I sing, I celebrate peace, serenity, bliss, and ecstasy. In the name of freedom, God's love, that which we are, I am, now and always.
Well, thank you, sir. That was magnificent. Thank you.
Amazing.
So here we are, we're back with Ole. So when you travel the world, I mean, what do you find that is the difficulty that people have, or that that you have had in the past? Or what prevents us from having that experience?
I think the misunderstanding of the functioning of the brain is the worst thing. I mean, people think that the brain produces the mind, and we Buddhists say that it transforms the mind. They think that brain is like a radio station. We think it's a radio. We think that mind is like a timeless movement in space, which has never started and which moves from one body to the next until it becomes aware of its own timeless nature, its space, clarity, and unlimited nature. So this one thing actually takes the joy of thinking of many lives and timelessness and so on away from a lot of people. Actually, it's often the finest and the bravest people who think that I must stand up to this and face that I am impermanent and that my essence will disappear and so on. And when we come and tell them this, and it's not like that, what is really you, the thoughts and feelings will go, the pictures in the mirror will go and the waves in the ocean will go, but the experiencer, the mirror and the ocean will stay. Then, this can be a big jump for them because they think it was what they wanted to think themselves and hoped to think, but if you bring it like that, they may say, hey, he's making it too easy for me or something like that.
Until they have the experience.
Until they then have the experience that they're not the thoughts and feelings, they're that which is behind the thoughts, which knows the thoughts, you know. When they recognize that they're that.
When the separation takes place,
then they begin to understand really that actually, you know, that awareness, that which is looking through my eyes right now, it hasn't been born and it cannot die. It's timeless. And when they begin to experience that, that's great. I give these conscious dying courses. I've just passed 30,000 people I've given it to this year. This year was the 13,000 in over 11 years. And people learn, it's called POA, you learn to send your consciousness projected from the top of your head into a pure realm. And after that, over in Germany, I usually go parachuting or bungee jumping or something like that with my students also. And many hundred have been jumping with me and so on. It's more expensive than here. America is the best country for parachuting. It's so cheap here. We pay $200.
Yeah, our parachutes don't work as well. That's one of the reasons.
I don't know about that. Anyway, as far as I know, it's very cheap. No, I look forward to trying here. I think it's very safe here. Yeah, it is. I look forward to trying here also. But anyway, and people, they've never done anything like that before. It's the first jump.
So it's a way of overcoming the fear of anything in a way, right? Because what are you losing?
Yeah.
What are you afraid of?
They come down, and they say, hey, I never felt better. I never felt better than the free fall, and when they opened the chute, it was actually got boring, right? And that
but they're not going to try it the next time without opening it.
No, not without. No.
Okay.
But
that would be a short, joyful trip.
Yeah, it would be very short. You'd end up as a mole, right? Now listen, you begin to experience that there is something between it. That's the thing about extreme sports. That's why I love my motorcycle in the curves, right? Quick with no police around and stuff like that. Because, there you go beyond, you become that which experiences. You can't stay with the experiences.
You have to be there.
You have to be there now, right? Because otherwise you make a mistake, right? And you only
There's
make
only
one mistake. Only one mistake.
Right. I feel like that on my moped, so
Okay.
I don't like to push it, no. So in other words, it's like creating the gap or experiencing the gap between what we think we are and what we really are.
Yes. Understanding that which is behind and between the thoughts and experiences, and knowing that to be timeless. Be the mirror, not the pictures, or also the pictures, but be in essence the mirror. Be the ocean, not just the waves, right? Be that which is aware, which is looking through our eyes, listening through our ears, not just all the objects and things which come and go. That's what it's all about.
And that process at some point has to experience a quiet, a meditation or whatever, form or tool you would use to have, like, to stop the world, to separate.
There has to be a moment of focusing inside and so on. It's just the times are different now. In Tibet, they used to send people in for many years of meditation and so on. They sat around, and probably a lot of the things they learned when they were sitting there, we learn in school already, right? Discriminating thinking and stuff like that. All this they learn in their retreats, we learn it in school. So for a modern person, it's short retreats or a few short meditations during the day, which really hones the mind, which really sharpens. And people who sit for too long, they are useless when they come out often. They're too soft, they're too spiritual, too holy, too something, right? They can't really get to it, what happens.
So in other words, there has to be some balance between the physical, whatever words we're using, but we're spirit in a body. So
you must not lose your sharpness.
Right.
You must not become wishy-washy and airy-fairy and space out. You must go. The important thing in the meditation is actually, you stay in a state where you experience space as being awareness. Awareness which can rest in itself, which needs no object. Just aware without having to be aware of anything. But then you come out of that. You let a pure world appear. And the feeling from this meditation into the between or after meditation, the change there is as little as possible. The feeling is kept as much as in any way possible. That's what it's about.
You're becoming that experience.
Yes, you become and you carry it with you all the time.
Right. Yes. And you see that happening. See, what I see, from just doing the show and just being around is that it's just accelerating now for whatever reason, millennium, the year 2000, but that experience is becoming more available to people, and they're coming into it faster.
Sure, more and more things happen while the poor, the black brown belt around the equator overpopulates and hungers and kill themselves. We in the temperate zones, we live quite nicely, and develop spiritual things and stuff like that. Sure.
I remember
more of everything.
The last time you were on the show, you said you had a real concern about
Overpopulation.
Oh,
it hurts me. Every time you look, of course, I travel around the world twice a year. I see so many things. People who will never have a chance to live properly, who will never have a chance to have an education, will never even get enough proteins to fully develop their brains, right? In so many countries around the world. The only thing I can see, whether the Pope likes it or not, whether the mullahs like it or not, it doesn't interest me. The only thing I can think of is that if we want to stop massive suffering on a scale we can't even think of today, then we have to help or force the people in the poor countries and the ghettos to have less children. There is no other way. If we have the choice, quantity or quality. We are not going to have both.
Would you say that there's not enough food? Or not enough?
No, there's not enough life. There's not enough life quality. I mean, even if you can produce the food, you can make photosynthesis and many things. A person sometimes needs a chance to look over a landscape which isn't full of other people, right? And go and have a proper education and have some peace and not always be disturbed by noises and stuff like that. For a full human development, there needs to be a certain amount of space for every person. And they don't have that in Africa. They don't have that in the metropolises of South America, and Central America. They don't have that in Asia. They really don't have it. And I would like them to have that. 100 years ago, there was 1 billion people in the world. We are now nearly 6. Before 2050, we will be 11, and they will not live in England, or they will not live in America, they will not live in Denmark. They will live in that black and brown belt around the equator, which is already overpopulated. They will suffer massively if we don't help them now.
And what way would you say would be the best way to help?
I'd pay them, I'd simply make a pension. Families that promise to just have one child would have their old age secured by the United Nations or whatever. It's better,
just some kind of inducement.
So they get money. They get money for just having one kid. Every family that will just promise to just have one kid, will be nourished when they get old. I mean, the reason, for instance, Indians have so many kids is not that they want to destroy their women. It's simply because, if they have 10 kids, maybe one of them will earn some money and give them food when they get old. That's what's behind it. So if we can guarantee them food like that when they get old, they need maybe one child, and send him to university and do something for him, right? Instead of having them all begging around and doing jobs that machines should be doing.
Well, one of the other reasons that this seems to be an overpopulation problem is that people, the whole birth control issue and things like that, religion says you can't do that. So, you're locked into that side of it too.
Yeah,
so
you should be smarter than your gods. If your gods are not smart enough, you should be smarter, right? If your gods can't count, you help them, right? That's what I think.
Well,
the Catholic God cannot count, and he cannot see what is there. We should help him. Sure, he needs
but would you say that the strength of those religious beliefs, rightly or wrongly, are the things that prevent
this is
rational thought from coming into this area?
Sure.
And suffering almost isn't an issue. The issue is that
religions are oppressive. Look at Islam. Every time you look in the newspaper, 2/3 of all the suffering comes from them. It does. Suppression, pain, women
in the name of God, in the name of love.
Allah, in the name of their Allah, right? And so everybody who tries to control others and tell them what to think and get into their lives, they deserve a kick in the butt, I think. Good kick.
Yes. Yeah. So why do you think that, it seems to me that religions, basically, I would almost go as far as to say almost all religions, when they get away from the master who had the experience, it just gets watered down, and people are not having that experience of the way I would describe it, love or oneness. Or,
sure.
And then it just starts to be bureaucratic, and it just starts to be money, and it just starts to be other things and ideas and pressure and I'm higher and just all the hierarchies and stuff like that. So the key would be that as more people have that experience, then how can you believe that after a time? It won't be real to you. If you have the experience of truth, then all the illusion is just going to fall away.
Completely right, but for every one of us who has that experience in the West, because we are educated, because we are free, because we learn how to think critically, because our societies are transparent, because we have democracy, there are probably 10 people who are born into a situation where they'll never have a chance to do that. That's what I was talking about. They're the ones who
and some people would say that there's certain karmic that they've chosen to come in that way. I mean, how do you relate to that?
I think that if we just let people be born here that can have an education and be supplied and fed, another universe will appear for the ones who would otherwise be coming here. I think so. Another universe, this whole world is just a collective dream we have anyway. So another world would condense somewhere in space and they would live there. I'm sure about that. But I think we have our responsibility here. This is what we know, right? So people should live well. People are so wonderful. If they're educated, if they're free, they're so wonderful. And if they're suppressed and brainwashed and unfit, it's so painful.
So I mean that's really in a way what drives you, what moves you around the world.
I want grown-up people. I want people who are independent, who are grown up, who have real power. Who can do something for others and for themselves. This is what I want to see. That's my real thing. And the reason I'm with Buddha is because he produces that. That's the reason, really. Honestly, it's not because I'm looking for own salvation and stuff like that. It's not like that. But I really have the confidence that the Diamond Way methods makes people grow up if the right people get them in the right way.
But you wouldn't say that's the only way people could have that experience?
No, I think many, whichever religion points to the experience or behind the experiences, whichever religion goes beyond good and bad, gods and devils, and points to that open, clear, limitless space where they appear, play around, are known, and disappear again. Whichever religion does that is perfect. I know Buddhism and Advaita Vedanta Hinduism, they do that. But mystics in all religion have that experience.
And the important thing, as we've said, the whole show is to have the experience. Once you have the experience, all the rest falls aside, all the theories, and it doesn't matter what you call yourself.
I know.
Because you've become one.
Sure. It's like a boat. You take the methods are like a boat. You take from the coast of ignorance to the coast of liberation and enlightenment, and then you send it back. You don't carry it along.
You don't need the boat. What do you need it for? Right. Because that's just heavy. It's extra weight.
Sure.
And then why do I feel
spontaneous and effortless, right? Then you're beyond method. Then you're just here now.
Right.
That's true. They compared to a picture in water, painted in water. What was before is gone. What comes doesn't happen. It didn't happen yet, and the moment is always right.
We've talked about that a lot. That everything, all the spirits, I was saying that just to somebody yesterday, is to bring you into the moment. Where else can you live? Where else can life be except in the moment? The rest is all thought form. It's just, and it doesn't exist.
Nobody got enlightened yesterday. Nobody got enlightened tomorrow. Everybody always gets enlightened now, right?
Well, everybody has fun now. Everybody has joy now. I mean, that's where we live. So, I mean, it's really an extraordinary thing for me because I don't, I do it here and this show goes out all over the world. So I don't see it like one-to-one. I get calls and emails. But you go out and you actually see like the explosion of...
I see that, and more than that, I see 500 faces every evening somewhere in the world, listening to a lecture, right?
And I look at this happening in the, the black-brown belt.
No, they have to get fed.
They have to eat.
We can only get the upper classes. We only get the upper classes. Like South America, Mexico, and so on, we only get the upper classes. I would love to go out and shake up a few others, but you only get the upper classes because only they have the education and the leisure. In Africa, we don't get anybody. We can't do anything there. Well, it's one.
I mean, you hold a program there, and
They will not understand the abstract part.
Right.
They will love it, you know, they will love the
Right.
good feeling, but they will not understand the abstract.
And it would be hard for them to follow through because
Yes,
their
sure,
lives
they
aren't
can't
set up
use
to
it.
do
No,
that.
no,
Yeah. It just
no.
would be a waste of everyone's time at that point. So one of your goals would be to bring them to the point where
to the
they're
level,
eating
yeah.
and educated.
Yeah, sure. And then
the
starts
next
the
step
higher
is-
arts. Yes.
So,
First
I mean, you feel like you have to really take people where they are. I mean, to think that somebody can understand something when they basically can is ludicrous.
Yeah, no, you have to be practical. Life is short. And, you know, you
Right.
do all kind. You climb up trees with no fruit in them. You know, you waste your time.
Right. What's the point? You want to eat.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, it's like writing down an apple
Yeah.
on a piece of paper and
Yeah,
start
here you
eating
are.
it, you know.
No, it's true. It's completely true.
So do you find, I mean, like, when you watch it from that place of, do you get sad when you see this? I mean,
No, because I always see the Buddha nature. Even if I see people starving in Calcutta, you know, or full of leprosy somewhere, whatever else you may see and so on, there's always that Buddha nature, you know, that which is looking through their eyes, right, that cannot die. And other lives, it will appear in other forms, in other situations. And someday, you know, it may be possible to hold up a mirror and say, hey, you know, look, don't just look at things, look at yourself. Recognize your mind to be space, then you'll become fearless.
so in other words, you could recognize it being like a
Magic
bad,
show. Yeah,
but a bad situation
Yeah.
in a sense and still perfect in another sense.
Yes, it's sure. I mean, if somebody came in here and threw a few hand grenades, I mean, we wouldn't like it, but
I don't think I
all
would.
the pieces of us
I was
would
hoping
fly
to get to
by the
75 at least.
No, all our pieces would fly by the most perfect laws of math, right?
Right.
So if you're attached to your body, you know, you won't like it. If you're interested in math, you'll say, hey, look at that, pieces flying like that. It's all
Right.
perfect mathematics, right? So it depends on the level. And you do what you can, right? And then you know that they're all Buddhas who haven't found it out, and that sort of helps you to go on.
To go on, to
Yeah,
do the
sure.
next day.
You always have to think, you must never be like the one who goes, like a teacher going into a class and saying, what are the 30 gorillas doing in my class? You must always go in and say, what are the 30 Einsteins or Bohrs or Plancks or whatever doing in my class? Because then you have the basis to work from. You must always understand that they are really Buddhas who didn't find it out. And then you can go in there and say, hey kids, let's do something.
You can go to where they are.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, you have to, somebody
Oh,
can
yeah.
only take a step from where they're standing.
sure,
I mean, if you think they're going to take a step from, right, I mean, it's just not going to work. It's a waste of everybody's time.
Of course not.
So, would you say that the experience for you is, for you personally, it inspires you and enhances your experience to go around and see the hunger and the love of all the people coming to you?
I see more and more fantastic people, you know. I mean, I really see, maybe it's probably also, it's my mind also, you know. It works in the way that harmful, really negative things are more or less very quickly recognized as being faulty programs and thrown out, while positive things, you know, are seen as having ultimate value and are being stored and kept and so on. So actually in my own case, you know, I see it and I nearly only pick up the positive, but I know the other things also.
Right. You know it's
just
there.
I know,
Right.
it's just
Right.
my mind will always, and also for some reason, maybe because, you know, I'm very direct, or I don't know why, or my karma or whatever, people always behave very well when I'm there. They misbehave when I'm
Well, I
not.
heard you were a boxer and you
Yeah,
you
sure.
intimidate them too. So
I shake them up a
Right,
bit.
that's
I
right.
shake them up a bit. So you
I've
don't
heard
do that, right?
tell
Yeah.
about that.
That's true. That's true. That's true.
No, my experience has been is that, you know, if you're experiencing love and coming from love, I mean, mostly you'll draw love to you.
Yeah, sure. That's also true. That's true. And then it's always a question of going to the cause, not just the effects. Not only stay with the effects, cause, you know, that's the important thing. Always look, you know, what's underneath it, you know, and if you can make people like really trust that they are beautiful inside, that they really are, that they really can
As a
be
start.
good people. Yeah.
As
As a start.
intellectually,
Yes,
and
yes,
then
yes, yes.
hopefully open them
Yeah,
to
yeah.
the
Yes.
knowing and the
Yes,
experience
yes.
of it.
And showing them that you trust them a few times and stuff like that. Then they will grow. Then
Right.
they will grow very nicely.
Yeah, love feeds itself.
Yeah,
I
sure.
mean, people want to love and feel love. That's
At the same time, they don't want to be sentimental, they don't want to be sloppy, they don't want to be over-emotional, right? So they have to sort of find a way that they can accept the love that they have, and at the same time feel that they control the world, and they're not sitting there with egg in their beards or looking sentimental or teary-eyed or something like that.
I think we got about 15 seconds, so,
Well,
you know, again, I'm just blown away by Sarah and Ole, and I hope you had an incredible experience. Good night. God bless you. Thank you for watching.
All the gods.